our work session. We're going to call Mr. Baston up.
I've got a change order with Rogers Group for the work that was done at Barry Bower and Golf, that area. And it's for an additional $9,579.90. This is Mike Lance.
What did this work entail, please, Mr. Matson?
Well, what it entailed was that it was already there. It was a flume and a sidewalk that had not been detailed in the original plans that, the reviewer missed. So we're just adding what was there to begin with.
How much was it?
$9,579.90.
I'll make that motion, Mr.
Second.
What do you want to use? Mr. Eubank, second by Mr. Edwards, all in favor of the motion?
Okay, and the second item is related to a new Starbucks that's going up, and it's on that access road that is near Toon Avenue and Florence Boulevard, and they're gonna pay for the sidewalk, but I mean we've got to enter into an agreement with the state that will maintain it. If there ever any defects in it, we've got to go back in there and fix it.
Where is that exactly? I obviously see the milepost, but can you please tell me without that?
You know where the Crystals is? It's right across the street. And
But this isn't the one that goes back down too. It goes to Florence Boulevard.
Correct.
yeah, it does, but
It kind of snakes around and goes to that dollar store down there.
Yeah.
but the access is off of Toon.
Right, I'm well aware. Just making sure that I knew where the sidewalk was gonna go.
It's going to go. And I wish I brought a photo, but it's going to go. Once you get to the Starbucks, it's going to go all the way along one side of the property, and then it's going to turn and go along the road. Well, both of them go along the road. Wish I brought a sketch or something, but when you turn off Toon, you go down like that and then go down the access road, and it's going to go on, from Toon, it's going to be going all the way to where it ends and the next property starts.
It will only be on the access road, is what you're telling me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There were some questions from residents asking because there is a sidewalk on Toon, but it is on the other side of the street. So there were questions if it was going to connect. So it doesn't sound like it is. Okay.
What's the timeline for that?
Well, it's
You can just send it to us.
yeah. Well, we're not actually doing the work, but I'll see what I can find out. I mean, it's something that the contractor that's been putting up the Starbucks, he's going to do the work, but yeah, I'll try to make a couple of calls and see if I can find out for you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
He's here, the contractors.
Okay.
They were planning.
Okay, hey.
Can we talk?
Sure. Just because I love Starbucks.
Thank you. We're looking forward to having it here. I'm Frank Johnson. This is Bryce Johnson. We're the developers.
Pleasure.
Thank you. And we'd like to start work on next week if we can get all the permits issued. Because that was the question, right?
Yeah, what's the timeline of when you started? How long would it take to get it out?
About 5.5 months is the plan.
Okay.
And so if we start next week, we would hope to be open in May.
Okay, good deal. Y'all have any additional questions for him? Thank you very much.
I do.
Yeah.
We've discussed traffic about that. have you all factored that in with AlDOT? Because nothing else has come before planning. And you know, there's that weird turn, it takes a long time. Any updates with traffic patterns there? Because you had mentioned you wanted to get them coming south, and that would be great, but there will also be people who don't just come that way.
There will be a one-way in entrance off of Tune, or that service road. It's actually, they've just asked us to increase the width of it from 12 to 16 feet to accommodate, you know,
A turn lane.
that turn lane in. We've been working pretty heavily with AlDOT to make sure they're comfortable with all the plans.
Thank you for that update.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Brian?
Hello, everyone. The first item I have, C, this is a resolution to approve a contract with Ground Guys in Northwest Alabama. This is to start some of the landscape work at Pope's Tavern Museum. This will provide walkways between the two buildings. It will provide a walkway back to the parking lot and a space to create an educational area at the eastern side of the property. In addition, it'll be some repair work to our chimneys, which we desperately need. And that's in the amount of $40,053.79.
Are the chimneys leaking, Brian?
The mortar is,
Crumbling.
yes, and so I will be coming back here about a roof. Want to get the chimneys in shape first before we do that. Questions? Good. The next one is to pay an invoice, Certified Alarms, changing their equipment in some of our facilities, and they're no longer using phone lines, so that's what this invoice to Certified Alarm is. They're changing out equipment, and this is in the amount of $660.79.
Is there a monthly fee with that as well?
Yeah. And that's not, from what I understand, that's not changing.
That you already pay one, but it will be the same?
Correct. Okay, next one, this is to remove and trim, trim about 4 trees around the Art Center, the 3 buildings around the Art Center. These are trees that are growing up into some of the eaves and around the chimneys and some of the gables and some of the buildings. We just want to get them back and prevent them from providing easy access for animals and leaves on top of our roof. So that's in the amount of $1,800.
So ours does say remove, but it is not removal.
It's removal of debris. So it's not, there are no trees that are coming down, it's just removal of limbs.
Yeah, it says remove 4 trees and dispose of debris. So,
Okay,
all right.
that's, yeah, no, the trees aren't going anywhere, it's just the limbs that are growing into the buildings.
Hey, Brian, the lights need to come down in the back, the string lights, for them to have access?
No, it won't be in those trees, thank you for asking. It'll be kind of in the corner as you're going down Wood.
Yeah, I'm on the Arts Alive committee, and it's
Yep.
theirs, and I was gonna convey that to them, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, last one, this is our lawn maintenance invoice for the year. This is a new budget item for us, but this is going to cover 5 sites, including the Karsner House. This is for lawn maintenance, leaf removal, at a rate of $2,083.33 per month.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Mr.
No, you're
Arnold.
fine. Does that include spraying the lawns there?
Yes.
Good.
And is it all properties?
All properties that we maintain, so the Rosenbaum House, the Art Center, the Indian Mountain, Pope's Tavern, and Karsner.
Could be a controversial hot topic. Our Park and Rec does not do that?
This is the first year that we are going to be looking for a contractor to do that.
Because our Park and Rec doesn't do that?
They've got plenty of other
Oh,
things.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand. We have a lot of the equipment. We have a
Right.
lot of these things. This is a lot of money.
Right. Right.
I would think if they're going to include treating the lawns there with the chemicals, Because I'm not sure, did our Park and Rec, could we do that? We couldn't do that, could we?
We did
You did?
some, it's kind of on as needed basis.
Because that can get pretty pricey. Hmm.
You didn't mention Rosenbaum, includes Rosenbaum.
Rosenbaum's included in there, yeah.
Give that total again.
Total is 25,000 for the year.
I guess my next question, I'm sorry to ask this and put you on the spot, I apologize. Do we have to bid this kind of thing out? Or is it just, I mean, I don't know.
Not that I know, of. We did get several other estimates.
Okay.
We got about, Parks and Rec helped us to get about 3 or 4 different estimates.
So, Ms. Brooke, do we have to bid this out for that amount?
Pardon?
I'm saying, do we have to bid that out for this amount?
What's the total amount?
25,000.
30,000 is the
Okay.
threshold, yes ma'am.
So you worked with Parks and Rec on this?
Yes,
So they were aware
yes,
that this was happening and okay.
yes.
I'm happy to help, I mean, speak on it or stay out of it, however you want me to. If you want me to talk a little bit about kind of what how we do it and why it's kind of more efficient the way that they're gonna be doing it.
It would probably be helpful because it seems like a lot of money.
Please do, Bill, if you don't mind.
Don't mean to interfere with you start by protecting trees. So we have a mobile crew that handles these, which, as you know, we got plenty to handle with what we do. So just looking at the cost of what our guys do and how much we keep up with, I didn't hear the amount, but we helped him kind of get some different prices. But when you start getting outside of the realm of a park, I mean, with 1,000 acres of parks, it kind of gets to be more of a, where we're mowing medians and different things. So I think, was it 25,000?
It is.
So for a year, I don't know the cost, but, I'm pretty confident with labor and cost of mobiling people around it. I don't know that, but I'm pretty sure it's probably close to that. So I think as far as a cost savings, it's probably gonna be and more efficient for Brian to get what he needs out of that. I wasn't prepared really to speak on this, just speaking from researching it for 2 years. But our guys are spread, that mobile crew is spread thin anyway. And
Right.
so to start to get into these other ones, I think these were combined, Mayor, maybe you can help me, when everything was urban forestry and everything was all under a Park and Rec department. And so it just never got separated back out.
Okay. And so, Brian, your budget will absorb the cost of this,
Yes.
and you were paying Park and Rec to do it previously.
I don't think there was any cost
Yeah.
to, no, but they weren't paying us anything to do it. We were just kind of assuming. Like the Indian Mound, for instance, is Indian Mound included?
Yeah.
So the Indian Mound, just in itself, takes every one of our guys in 4 different times of the year to weed eat that. We have people fall. I mean, it's a 7 wonder that somebody had been seriously hurt. They have to climb up there with a weed eater and go around the whole thing. That in itself is an astronomical amount of work. Just in 4 days, that's 4 days, and I think it takes them 2 days to complete it.
Okay.
Bill, are you paying overtime in grass cutting season? They have to do some of this on overtime
Kind of
wages?
depends, if it's an event, we do pay, but, we have part-time people that come in and help at that point. So, we go from.
There's not a big reduction in overtime.
Probably not reduction in overtime, but the cost of doing it per man, yes.
Yeah, I just thought if it was saving overtime, it's.
Probably
those
is
are the first
some.
hours that are gonna come off, so.
But our guys are mobile, so you're not on site. Like with Diver, we have somebody there that's on site. Veterans, we have somebody there that's on site. These guys are moving around, and they got, a lot of different parks to maintain. Little neighborhood parks that, people don't think about that have some maintenance part of it too. Does that help? Thank you.
Yeah, that's, it's something,
Well, it is something that Shannon and I and our maintenance guys have talked about for some time, and this is the first year that I think it's gonna help Brian, because he can get the needs he wants for his specific areas.
Without delay or waiting, and your budget can
right.
afford it.
And then with our guys being what we have, I think it makes good sense. I
And
think
I would think, I'm familiar with this company, and I know they do a good job as far as, spraying and treating lawns. I think they have a schedule, they do this somewhere. I'm sure our guys, it was more of get to it somewhere in a window or whatever where you can. So I think they'll improve the look of them for sure.
And if Brian has an event and we can't necessarily get to it, if we're doing something else, we can't get to it, it kind of
Yeah.
helps him be able to be on the schedule exactly when he's gonna be able to get it done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief?
Good afternoon. I only have one item. It's to to enter into a contract with Xenolytic Data Solutions. It provides vehicle maintenance, a system basically that monitors 110 of our police cars, basically. It monitors things like fuel efficiency, mileage, hard braking, speed, gives a much more accurate location, GPS location of our vehicles in real time. That's a safety thing, also an accountability measure. It can also leave a trail like a GPS, so it's an efficiency thing. It helps us patrol more effectively because our commanders will be able to access this data, and it'll show where the car is patrolled during a period of time. So if there's an area that should have got patrolled that didn't, we're able to kind of adjust as we go literally in real time. It will speak between two programs, our Verizon data collection system, but it will provide that, it makes that connection or connects the dots to our database where we've collected data for 30 years now. That database is called Spillman. So what this will do, this will join that together and will give us that capability to monitor the analytics on all of our vehicles. Help us better maintain them, but also have an accountability measure as well.
So you use Spillman, and then this is the new one.
So Spillman is just a database where for 30 years we've manually entered information into it. It's limited, but it is a system that we've had for 30 years, so it's complete. It has everything that we need as far as that goes. What this does, it allows us to let that speak to Spillman because it has a fleet maintenance module in it, and that will provide that information there much more accurately, better than what Spillman is in and of itself can do. But it allows it to, I guess a better way to put it is talk to it.
And so this is new. You don't have this.
The connection, yeah, will be new to Spillman, and the cost, it's a total of $5,140, and that includes a 2,500 startup, and it's 110 units that'll be billed monthly, $2 per unit, for a total of $5,140, and it's from budgeted funds.
Annual, 5,140.
So annual, if you'll do the difference between the 2,500, take that from the 5,140, that's the amount that will be the annual.
26,140.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you currently have 110 units or more?
Oh, yeah. We have more. This will include all of our marked units, the patrol cars that you see driving around the street, the ones that patrol, answer calls for service. They're the ones that cost the most to upkeep. It helps us kind of monitor that information. So if the hard braking is one. If we're seeing that a particular car hard brakes a lot, it shows us an area where we can improve with that particular driver, just to increase the longevity of the vehicles.
Ms. Simmons, can I ask you a question? All right, Chief, I know we've been talking about our city garage, and I can't remember the name of the software that we're going to tie that into. Will this data be able to be plugged into that information?
Yes. He asked if it would talk to the new system. It has the word city in it. I can't remember what it is.
CityWorks.
That one, CityWorks. Yes, Spillman will talk to CityWorks, and so we'll be able to provide all that information. So when the city garage becomes a thing, and they can pull real-time data, not just historical data from the cars, which will be super helpful.
Any additional questions, Mr. Chief? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Melissa?
Good afternoon. I'll just start with the order of the agenda. Thank you. Item 11H is the contract with G Squared. This is our consultant on the GIS data that is used by multiple departments in the city, including police and fire dispatch, E911, EMA, building department. It serves as the backbone for orthophotography and planimetric data for all mapping systems throughout the city.
How often do we do this?
Every 3 years.
I knew it wasn't every year.
All right, any questions about that contract? Okay. The second item, 11U, is to approve Amendment 7 to the professional services contract with Ross Fowler. As I outlined in the memo, there is additional compensation that is due to Ross Fowler as a result of a couple of things. First of all, the updated compensation pay scale for their professionals that work on projects. The last time it was updated was in 2013. We have talked for several years with them about this amendment. It's just now making it to your agenda. And akin to that, on the River Heritage Project, as you all know, we had significant delays as a result of TVA, which also resulted in all the contractors. It was a trickle-down effect to all contractors having to work extra time on the project. So we have taken care of all of the other contractors that worked on the project except this one. And so we need to take care of this one as well through this amendment to the professional services contract. So the total amount, there's two figures that factor into to the equation. The first one being the percentage for the increase for pay for their professional employees, and the second part being the additional time that they are due as a result of the delays on the project. So the first amount being $21,635.15, and then combined with that additional compensation of $71,952.50. Because of the amount, this would not, well, two things, because of the amount as well as the contract that was in place, we needed to do an amendment to the contract rather than a change order. This was the cleanest and the most transparent way to do this.
How much we actually paying them?
Total. So for the entire project, the total will be $353,508.98.
Is this covered through the budget for this project?
Well, I would assume it would come from the project. Now I actually introduced this in 2022, again in 2023, and now also in 2024, and now we're in 2025. So as far as where those funds would sit, that's a question for Shayna Balch.
She is here, so I direct that to her.
Can you answer that, Ms. Shana?
It is. The funds have carried over from year to year, so it's there.
So there's no lapse in anything, okay, no borrowing, none of that,
No.
okay.
Thank you, Shayna.
Any additional questions for her?
Okay. Sorry. Third item is a contract between the city and specifically my office and the Lauderdale County Juvenile Drug Court. This is item 11X. You may recall that I requested and Carrie Judon, who is working with Judge Ben Graves with the juvenile court, was here that evening. And I requested permission to apply for a grant, $1 million, and it happened. So we are partnering with them. The programs, and I wish I had more time to talk about this, so maybe in the future, or at least I could shoot you all an email with the specific programs, but the programming that the Juvenile Drug Court is putting into place is amazing. The way that they're planning to intervene with these youth that have found themselves in, on the wrong side of the law because of drugs. And so I was just incredibly impressed with the work that they're doing. So it really was a no-brainer for us to serve as the administrator of the grant and help them be successful with that program. And also very honored that they would reach out to us specifically when they needed a governmental entity to sponsor the grant.
And what was that amount again?
$1 million.
Say that one more time.
That's not nice. I do want to point out that the agreement that you are approving tonight, because there will be a subsequent agreement, the agreement that you're approving tonight is between the City of Florence and the court, specifically Judge Graves, so that we can administer the grant on their behalf. So they will act as a subrecipient. And to make a long story short, as they expend funds, they will then invoice through a system that we have set up, that we have done multiple times with other external agencies, to get reimbursed by the grant. So there's no city funds exchanging hands. Everything that exchange hands is grant funds.
I would, if it's okay with the group and Ms. Simmons, I would welcome that coming back because that's a substantial amount of money. And I would love to know what their plans are and how that would be additionally beneficial to what they've already done.
Okay. I'll do that.
And why couldn't they do it themselves?
This particular grant with the Department of Justice requires a governmental entity to sponsor it. And while obviously a court is a governmental entity, the Juvenile Drug Court is a program that is, it's established as its own entity. And so they're not considered a governmental sponsored, or not considered an entity that could sponsor a grant. So they had to go with, a bona fide governmental entity. Like the city or the county. Any additional questions for me?
Thank you for being here. I could tell, I know it's a rezoning night, you don't have to be, but yeah.
It's all right.
Sound like you need to be in bed.
For the record, I don't have anything contagious. I know it sounds horrible and I would not want to be in a room with someone that sounds like I do, but this is the byproduct. Yeah, this is the byproduct of something else. So that is not contagious. Anywho, the rezoning tonight. Also in your packet, I gave you all the standard information. This particular property is undeveloped north of Ryan's Place, off of West Rash Road. It's currently zoned R1. It is not divided into lots. They are proposing an R2 zoning, which is also single-family residential, and have also submitted to our department and the commission a subdivision plan for 73 lots to build additional residential units, which we need.
But it's less than they could be building.
Oh, far less than what they could build. They're, considering the lots to be, a little bigger than typical R2 lots, which are 7,200 square feet. And just for, I guess just for information, in an R2 zone, you can build up to, I believe I'd have to check this, 45% of the site area. and, which would allow a home of in excess of 3,000 square feet. Okay, any questions? All right, thank you all.
Thank you, feel better.
Thank you.
Mary?
How are you all this afternoon? I have 2 items on the agenda. The first one is a resolution to approve a contract with North Alabama Drilling to provide labor, materials, and incidentals necessary for drilling services as needed. And the price, you have it in front of you, $250 per foot, with a minimum 15 feet of dirt drilling. When they hit rock, they charge $600 per foot for 36 inches, and then 48, it goes up from there. Any questions about that?
Is that a general
Just a
contract
general-
with them?
Yes. Yes.
Is this who will drill under 72?
No, that's a different company. This is the people that did the drilling at Shoals Creek Bridge, where we set those new poles across Shoals Creek Bridge, and we're having to replace a pole on the highway that the state has added, and it's solid rock, and so we're having to get a contract with them to set this pole, change out a pole for the state, and instead of just doing it just for that, we wanted to do a general contract, so if we ever had to use them in the future, we'd have the contract already in place.
Do you have a time frame for the drilling into the ag center?
The boring into the ag center, that was a boring project. 2 of them have been completed already. We still lack one on the Florence side, so 2 of them are already completed.
And that will be reimbursed to the city?
Correct.
Thank you.
The second item that I have is a memorandum of understanding between the city of Florence and Toyota about our solar project that we're looking into doing with them. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
So I did some quick math just while we were sitting back there. So for 25,000, 5 properties per year, average 26 cuts, it comes to about $192 per area, which is, as far as our labor costs, that's very good for 26 cuts. So that's just kind of a number to put out there, 192 per area per cut. And I will speak to Melissa, if you will let me, to the juvenile drug court. We're involved with that, and the guys do community service. I don't know if y'all remember, we entered into an amendment, and it's an impactful program for kids. It really helps kids. It introduces them to the helpful part of the juvenile justice program. So I'm a believer in it, and I've seen firsthand what it does for kids. It's an incredible program. So the first item we have is item J, enter into a contract with Irons Electric, and they're gonna install 2 LED lamps to retrofit 2 pole lights to LED at Roy Avenue tennis courts. This amount is $500.
They're just not LED right now.
Correct. The next one is item K, which is a contract with Perry Weather Systems, and this is going to provide and install 2 outdoor weather station bundles, and these will include cameras and a subscription, and this one is at the Sportsplex. The amount is $9,600. And I sent some information. I don't know if that made sense to y'all.
Thank you, really.
Well, Brad's here to speak on it. Brad is the one that introduced us to this, and saw it in Vestavia and saw it work firsthand. So I want to thank Brad for introducing it to us. Next is item L, which is the same thing for Blackberry Trail Golf Course, and theirs is a little less expensive because they do not have live feed cameras, and their amount is $8,100.
Why not the live feed cameras there?
Eric, you want to describe why you don't, or just
The locations where our weather stations would be at, the cameras really wouldn't provide any relevant information. Because basically, if you could put a weather station where a camera would be most useful, it would be less impactful as a warning system. And the warning system is the priority, at least at the golf course. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
And
And our storms follow the Tennessee River, which puts you much closer to it.
I ask, I have a list of, I asked very many questions about this just to, because the quote really I didn't quite understand, so I asked a lot of those same questions. Talking to Brad today, the one at the Sportsplex will enable them, Brad can look at it and see where the storms are coming from, usually come from the west. Brad may want to speak a little bit more to it, but he's a believer in doing the live stream at the Sportsplex. Anything else you want to say to that?
No, I mean, I think there's two elements to this that I think are important for the community and important for the council. First off, this system will take the human element out of making decisions whether or not we get kids off of sports and athletic fields and whether or not the individuals that are using our golf facilities will see that. One of the challenges with weather, and particularly with lightning, which is what this system is most impactful for, is a storm may be 20 miles away, but lightning striking within 2 or 3 miles. And so that may be indicative that the storm is cycling or that it's moving or whatnot. And so if I get a phone call from the Sportsplex that asks the question, where's the storm? And I tell them, well, it's across the state line. And then we start having lightning down here, we kind of run into that human element issue. And so when we were looking at this with Vestavia Park and Rec, it really has made a significant difference on how quickly they can get athletes off of those fields, but also how quickly they can get them back on the fields. So the system will do all of that through automation. It will alert the staff that it has indicated lightning or indicated weather within the area. So all of the staff will know where that weather is and when it's safe for it to come back on. It will allow for audible plus visual indications. So for our Miracle Field folks who may be hearing impaired, then they'll see the lights that are flashing and know when it's safe to be on the fields and when it's safe to be off the fields. Same thing with the golf course. Metal rod in hand with lightning is probably a bad idea. And so getting those individuals off of the golf course into safe areas is extremely important.
Are the live stream cameras going to live stream through any of our websites so that parents can also kind of pull up and see what's going on out there?
That's
Y'all discuss that?
completely, I mean, that would be completely at the discretion of the department head and the council as to whether or not you wanted to put that out there. I mean, you're obviously, you're going to take into consideration two things. One, if you've got some event that's going on out there, there's probably a service that's already involved with live streaming that, and so we don't want to get into infringement right issues or anything along those lines. But under normal circumstances, I mean, the live cameras are going to do two things. One, for us in EMA and 911, it's going to give us some real-time information about what the weather is doing at that location. And then on the flip side to it, those also will allow Mr. Jordan and his staff to be able to ensure that no one's trespassing or violating on the property or any of those things, and also to confirm once an activation has happened that people are actually getting off of the fields and doing those type of things. So I guess to answer your question, Councilman, can it? I'm sure it can. I'm not sure that at this point we've contemplated it under those circumstances.
I do have one other question, please. It might be for both of you. Once that starts, how long do we have to get fields cleared, courses cleared? A large golf course takes a minute.
Right.
All those teams out there take a minute. What's our time frame?
So best effort, and obviously every situation is different. And once staff is alerted and those sirens go off, it's not a situation to where Mr. Jordan is having to make phone calls to all of his staff and employees. Hey, I need you to clear the lower pod of softball fields. Hey, I can't see the soccer fields. You know, is anybody clearing those folks off? Once that audible siren goes out, every staff member on that site is going to know what to do and to start clearing those. And so from an efficiency standpoint, where prior to having this system in place, it may take 15 or 20 minutes. This can cut it down to minutes.
So it sounds like too, there's going to be some training involved.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
I was going to add too, I don't know if it was clear in that, if they're completely programmable too. So like when the siren goes off and the lights are flashing, then you can have like a text-to-speech. It can give instructions to the system as to like where you want people to go and what to do next. That's all part of it.
Right. And it can be customizable, so if we want to say 3 miles is our limit, then we set the system to activate at 3 miles. If we want it to be 10 miles, then it can be that. If we want to wait 5 minutes before, I mean, those are all policy decisions that can be done internally based on what the circumstances and situation are. But if you look at the number of tournaments that are coming in to our community, and obviously I'm speaking more towards the sportsplex than the golf course, I grew up in the age where you had a tornado siren that got pushed, and it was up to whoever the bad boys were that day to push the siren, and whether or not they pushed it or not, you just didn't know. With this system, you take all of that out of it, and with the number of events that are coming into our community, number one, those of us that play travel sports, we're used to systems like this. A lot of our sister cities and larger areas already have these systems in place, and so it's not going, from the training perspective, as Ms. Eubanks pointed out, for the community, there's not going to be a tremendous amount of training because most of the folks who already use those facilities are used to these type systems being in, but absolutely will help in those situations with those.
Do these new ones have audio on, so they give instructions like you
Pre-program it, or you can go
clear
live.
the field until further notice?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
So this raises another question too about the work that's going on at Veterans Park. There will be complexes there too. Do you see the value in adding it there once it's ready to go?
I see the value of it at any place where there are large congregations of individuals outside.
With metal objects or without?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So I think the big problem at the sports place, for instance, we had it seemed like every regional tournament we have a delay. It's very difficult to get the parents and the teams to understand how quickly they need to move out. They'll go, well, I got to get my cooler, I got to get my, and this way will enable us to talk over that thing, and you've got to evacuate immediately. But inherently, they just, I got to put my stuff under the thing. I don't want my bag to get wet, so they take. And with this, we'll be able to communicate. You need to move out now. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And I think the IT question is looking at cameras for Handy and some other places. Given live stream out, I think it is a security type thing. And IT is, once you start putting those out there, there's some liability about who can get on those systems. So I think to protect it, that would be an IT question about pushing it out to the public because if it's on our system.
Well, I was just thinking of parents at home when they know a storm's coming in, they would, kind of like you get on one of the TV stations, you're actually looking at the weather, not live streaming
Sure.
the event.
That's right.
So,
Like a program.
Parents might.
I've been just in my.
Check on their kids,
Sure, and experience dealing with what we're dealing with now, I just kind of defer to them if it's going to be kind of a public access or not. So IT's great, and trying to save a little bit of money. I asked them about cutting the cost of the shipping. That was not, but we are looking at seeing if our IT folks can install, and that'll save us $3,800. So that'll be a little bit of cost savings. Thank you, Brad. Really appreciate it.
I was going to add to Mr. Oliver, he was asking, it's the similar weather station and lighting system that they use at the RTJ Trail statewide. So anyone that's heard that system at an RTJ site, it'll be the same system.
We have a system out there now that does not work. I don't know how long that's been out there, so this will be good to have for sure. Thank you for the questions. The next item is item BB, which is a resolution for y'all to participate in the State of Alabama Land and Water Conservation Fund program. This is our grant to renovate McFarland Campground. The total cost of the project is $874,146. I was looking at $25,000. Sorry about that. $874,146.64. And this does require a match, and I think y'all approved that back in 2022, and it's just taken a while for the grant to finally come to fruition. And so the total match will be $437,073.32. And this project does align with the Park and Rec goals to renovate recreational resources in McFarland Park. And I spoke with TVA today, and hopefully next week they will give us the permit to proceed with the work.
I was gonna ask about a time frame.
Well, I think we have until 2026 to utilize the money. So based on doing a project, I'm not sure the timeline, but 2026. So hopefully, if they give us the permit to proceed, we'll be able to, kind of start the process of getting bids and everything by maybe the first of the year.
And this will be primarily the campground?
So this particular grant is strictly for the campground, but the TVA permit will be to redo the old pier that we shut down and the campground. The TVA permit will be.
Good, that's good clarification. That's exactly what I was wondering too.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Bill, update them on the other work they're doing right now, on the boat ramps.
Oh, boat ramp, well, they're moving along. I sent some of y'all some information about it. We haven't gotten any calls since they pushed that out, but that's paid for by the Wildlife and Fisheries. They're redoing all our boat ramps for us. I can't remember the exact amount, but they're a great partner to work with. They've been very cooperative and pushed the information out very good.
Would you send that to everyone?
Sure,
did I get that? We all get it?
I think so, but I'll make sure you get it.
No worries, thank you.
There was
And is it Alabama Wildlife and Fisheries, it's the state
That's correct.
agency, not federal?
There was they did a media release on it, and I think they pushed it out, but I'll send it to you again. I think they've been working a couple of weeks,
Okay,
but I'll send it to you again.
that's a good
Absolutely.
deal.
They had the little thing in the water, underwater, moving stuff out. Yes. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Chief?
Good afternoon. I have several items, and I'll try to run through these, and certainly any questions, let me know. I have 8 items. 6 of these are all connected to one location, one project. It's just different pieces of the puzzle per se. If you'll bear with me, we'll go through each one of them right quick. The first one I want to speak on is item N, and it is a resolution to approve a contract with MPE Services to provide labor and equipment and materials and incidentals necessary to install 2 electric quartz heaters and also a ventilation system exhaust removal out of the bathroom facilities at Fire Station 1. When we had the remodel that took place there a few years ago, there was a little bit of an oversight. There was a code issue that required us to remove the heating that was in that space then. It's a large area shared by a lot of people, and there has not been any heating in that space since then, and there are no exhaust fans. We're talking about a locker room, like a field house style concept, lots of showers, lots of space. And we've been waiting to try to get this on the budgeted project. It is budgeted. I do want to make one note. I think your documentation may say expense account 188, and this needs to be changed to 320. It'd be expensed to 320, and this is an amount of $11,580. Included with this, the heating systems and the ventilation will both have timers on them so that things wouldn't be running in excessive amount of time, that sort of thing. I think it's 1 hour increments is the most it would run at a time without somebody having to manually re-engage it. Any questions about that one? The second one I want to speak on is item T. And it is a resolution to approve a contract with Irons Electric to provide labor, equipment, materials, and incidentals necessary to install power and lighting at the Fire Department Training Center. We have in last year's budget, we relocated the pole barn that we keep a lot of our equipment and our rescue trailers in that was damaged from the tornado a few years ago. And we were able to complete that project with the exception of the power. And we did not have enough budgeted funds last year, so I've held that until now. And this is an amount of $15,350. And this will be running some underground power, conduit, and all the components necessary to get both lighting in that building as well as the outlets that we need. Some of those trailers, for example, our command post trailer, we leave that plugged into shore power, so our radio communications equipment, all that stuff is charged and ready to go all the time at a moment's notice. And that is to be expensed to account 188.
Okay, that one's right.
That is correct. Any questions on that one? Item M. The remaining 6 are all connected to a facilities improvement. It's Fire Station 5. There's just several pieces to this, but there's a total of, and this is all under budgeted funds, this is a total of these following 6 I'm going to discuss, of $96,000, not to exceed $96,022. But we'll start with item M. It's a resolution to approve a contract with Irons Electric to provide labor, equipment, materials, and incidentals necessary to replace and install new light fixtures, installation of new ground GFCI and USB receptacles throughout the building. The current receptacles in the station are still, most of them are the ones that originally was in the station. They won't even, you plug something in, it just falls out. Everything's, the receptacles and that sort of thing are completely wore out. And this is at Fire Station 5, and that's not to exceed $10,500, and it's expense to account 188. Item O is a resolution to approve a contract with Dixie Tile and Flooring to provide labor, equipment, materials, and incidentals necessary to install the wall tile in 2 showers and a dressing area, and cleaning grout in the existing shower areas, floors, and everything in the bathroom and locker room at Fire Station 5, and the total not to exceed $12,896. And this again is expense to 188. Item 5, my 5th item is P. Resolution to approve a contract with Dixie Tile and Flooring to provide labor, equipment, materials, incidentals necessary to replace the VCT flooring with new LVT flooring and layout border. This again is at Fire Station 5, and the amount of not to exceed $19,796, expense to account 188. Item Q, resolution to approve a contract with Chandler Painting to provide labor, equipment, materials, and incidentals necessary to basically paint the entire station, interior living quarters of the station, and reseal the cabinets. In the locker room, employee locker room, there's a lot of wooden cabinetry back there that they both keep their turnout gear in, and some spare supplies for the station, and we're just trying to maintain that material. That wood is dried out, needs to be resealed. And that is in the amount not to exceed $13,360. And again, expense to account 188. And item R, we're going to make a change on the expense account. This should be 320 instead of 188. And this is item R, resolution to approve a contract with Steve Matthews, doing business as Matthews Tree Service, to provide labor, equipment, materials, and incidentals necessary to remove the trees, grind stumps, and dispose of debris along the side of Fire Station 5. We have a problem. The current trees have gotten to they were planted too close to the building, first of all. And we have trimmed those trees a few times, and they're actually, they've reached the point they're wearing the paint off the material, the metal covering on the station itself. We're having some problem with the gutter and rainwater runoff. We also have an issue in the area where these trees are at, that there's a ponding. The ground has settled, and we've got our station backup generator and the transfer switch and all that located on this rear corner of the building. And when it rains now, that water is getting we're talking about 8 or 10 inches deep, and it has completely encompassed the area where a generator sits, and is pouring off directly on where the station disconnect is at for the generator emergency power. We're trying to get these trees removed, and we're going to look at trying to go back after we address some grading there, and look at going back with some more kind of some different style of tree, maybe in a little slightly different location, a little bit further buffer off of the building itself. And that with Matthews Tree Service is not to exceed $2,000. And that again was to be expensed to count 320. And my last item is item S, a resolution to approve a contract with Jeff Gibbs, doing business as Custom Solution, to provide labor, equipment, materials, and incidentals necessary to remove and install new countertops, sinks, shelving, new storage cabinets, build dividing walls in the bedrooms, and hang and finish sheetrock at Fire Station 5. Again, this project is falling under Public Works, and it is not to exceed $37,200, and that's to be expensed to account 188. And that completes all of the items. And this is basically some of these projects, they're all connected to each other, but it's going to take several months to get these completed. We're just trying to get the wheel moving in that direction to get the upgrades at that station that we've been budgeting and planning for the last couple of years.
Yeah, what you've basically given us is an entire renovation of a fire station.
It is.
Pretty much.
Well, cosmetically, yes. Yes,
I mean, sure, we're not moving brick and mortar outside.
that's
but,
right.
I mean, I'm surprised it didn't come to public safety with all the meetings we've had.
Well, maybe it should have, but it's kind of been planned and we've been working it for a while. I guess I really didn't think about facilities update doing that. I apologize for that.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
But it was surprising to me as I was reading through everything and preparing for tonight that I was like, whoa, 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 this is a lot
Yeah.
coming for Fire Station 5. And having been over there many times, I don't dispute it. I
Sure,
think I would
sure.
rather have, though, had an opportunity to go look, been able to see and understand a little bit better from your perspective and perhaps some of those who work there constantly.
Sure, sure.
That would have been helpful.
Duly noted.
Because of the cost associated with all of this, total about $100,000.
Sure, yes, that's correct. Duly noted.
I will say it's long overdue.
Yes.
When was this fire station built?
This station was built in 74, I think.
74?
I think that's right. I have it. Yes, it was built in 1974.
Any upgrades since it was built?
We've had some issues that had to be addressed. That station has had a very large issue with mold several years ago. We had to go through and pull out all the ductwork and the HVAC system all through the building had to be replaced. Had some ceiling tile in the living quarters for front portion of the station that had to be addressed and replaced and that sort of thing.
And speaking of
We
that,
had a couple of water leaks that we put a new raised roof covering over it several years ago, that sort of thing.
speaking of that, do we keep the maintenance on that so that doesn't happen again?
Oh, that is certainly, yes ma'am, that's certainly the plan we're working towards is maintaining, trying to bring things up to where they should be and maintain them moving forward.
Okay,
Yep, absolutely.
good deal.
Any other
Have
questions?
any additional questions for the chief?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Melinda?
Evening. I've got two items pretty straightforward. One is the renewal of our stop loss insurance with Lloyd's of London. And then the other item is the assignment of benefits that allows them to issue reimbursement payments to us for claims that exceed that predetermined amount in the contract. We are currently with them, so it's just a renewal.
Any questions for Melinda? Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mark?
Yeah, he left me with some good ones. I get to start with a change order on the Cox Creek tank. I think it's the one across from Mars Hill. It's an additional $18,935.62, and it's removing a drain valve, installing a different interior drain valve, and adding Florence lettering to the tank.
What was that amount again, please, Mark?
It is $18,935.62, and it brings the project total from $6,887,000 to $6,905,935.62.
So we got a wrong valve, it's a new build, right? I mean, that's a new build.
Yeah, exterior drain valve, they're deducting $1,500 for it and installing a 20-inch valve underground conduit for $10,105, and the lettering is $10,318. And these are paid out of the SRF funds.
I remember we talked about, in one of the utility meetings about a fire hydrant, and that may be why they had to change that. Besides,
Okay,
yeah.
makes sense.
We need to vote on that change order. We get motion.
Motion.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Oliver, second by Mr. Edwards, all in favor of the motion? Okay.
And then the second item is item V on the consent, and it is a flow monitoring contract with ADS Environmental. And it's to monitor the sewage. Did you understand, Mayor, that is around the sportsplex? Am I right on that one?
Now, which one are you talking about?
The ADS Environmental Services, and it was the flow monitor. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago. It's my understanding it's for the area of Cox Creek, Savannah Highway and all that. And it's just a study to see the capacity they have currently, if it's acceptable, if it needs to be upgraded, or just where we stand for growth in that area. And it is in the amount of $11,427, and it is for a 3-month study of the flow of sewage.
That's the sewage line that goes right beside the creek that we're dealing with, that could be affected by the bridge project.
Yeah, and it services all the way up Cops Creek to Target and all that area, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a critical part of our infrastructure, and this is a great opportunity because the company doing it is in town. And they are giving us the benefit of their proximity, and we're not paying nearly as much. But it'll tell us how much we can grow that, or if we need to add to it.
That it?
I got one more. This is item CC on consent, and it is an application for Marina Mar for the sewers extension fund. It's a development that's going in. It's right next to Shoals Bridge. I talked to Melissa, and I don't know if it has all been annexed at this point. I think that is the intention.
I guess my question, and it may be for Melissa, because this has come up at utility committee meetings previously, is that the developer had not visited with Melissa about the process. And so before this should come here, I'm asking Melissa if that did in fact happen, and he understands the process to become annexed.
I can't answer the question if he understands it. There have been conversations had over the past year. And so he knows that there's an application that has to be filed.
Has it been filed?
It is not.
Then why are we doing this?
And I can't answer that, and I'm not gonna speak for Mark. I don't know if Mark can answer it as well. And I also don't know if the other criteria have been met as well, because our part is such a small piece to the criteria that has to be met. So I'm not certain about the balance of the criteria either.
As we finished up that meeting that day, I can only speak for me, but I was very clear that I'm not comfortable moving forward with this until we know that your portion has been managed.
There has not been an application filed for annexation, and there have not been conversations in well over a year with what would be the owner or the owner's representative.
Well, then I, for one, would request that be moved to either off or to the regular agenda.
Why don't you just table it, let's get Ted.
I think, is that okay?
What does the council want to do?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt that process. I'm sorry. I do want to iterate that depending on, and I don't know the answer to this, depending on the location of this particular line that he would be receiving assistance with, it could be on a portion of property that is in the city. Because there is a piece of that property So the property stretches from Sky Park Road all the way down to Marina Mart.
That's what I was about to ask.
There's
How much
one
of that?
piece,
Yeah.
one small
Is it in
piece.
the middle of two pieces, or?
No, it's not, I'm sorry.
Well,
Thank you. Yes,
sorry to
that
have
would be
you.
my map, thank you. So, may I?
Yeah.
May I approach? Okay. So.
Yes, please, I got you.
It is that boat launch right in it is what's in it. Everything else that's highlighted in blue is what he owns,
So is that county or city?
county.
Okay.
Everything in blue is what he
Could
owns.
you please show
It's
me
in
where it
county,
is?
The boat ramp.
And that's all. And I have
Only the
no
boat
idea.
ramp.
Let me, Michelle, since we had our meeting, Tad and Ben actually met
Only this is.
with the developer, and they pulled the properties that were outside the city off this. They've got one that's already in the city, as I understand, and that's the only one that's involved with sewer. So I can't ask Tad right now, but I think that's why that's on this agenda. So like I said, we need to get the clarification.
So the part that he's wanting done is in the city?
Is actually in the city,
Okay.
and he wants to hold off on the other that we had questions about until this happens, to get sewer.
So would there be any harm in waiting until the next meeting simply to get clarification from Tad?
I think we get clarification from Tad, but Ben actually, in Melissa's office, actually met with him. Okay.
I would feel more comfortable just doing that if that's okay.
So do I hear consensus from the council that you guys want to pull this off the agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine pulling it off till next time, but I do want to point out, being that it is economic development, that we want to get back on this as quickly as possible to not hold the developer up. We get beat up enough for not being business friendly.
Well, I think
But
if
everybody has to play by the same rules.
If Tad were here tonight, he can probably.
Yeah, right,
but he's
right,
not, so.
right. And so I think we're fine until the next meeting when Tad can do that, and we'll move on with it.
Mr. Griffin, what do you?
Does the same owner own across 72?
Yes.
There's another marina, but it's not enclosed in blue here.
Correct. The reason that map encloses those particular lots in blue is because those were the lots being considered in the application for the assistance.
So will he eventually want sewer across the street?
He already has sewer across the street,
City?
even though it's in the county. From a distant past.
It's a tangled web out there, Mr. Griffin.
No comment.
Thank you so much for your clarification, and I thank you all for your willingness to wait.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is, on CC, we will remove this from the agenda to get clarification and hopefully put it back on for the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Just to go back on the water tank issue, I think maybe Jackie or Jimmy brought it up. There's actually in order for the developer that's building the units beside that, they had an issue with a water hydrant.
Yeah.
And so that was concession to be able to get him to do that. And when that's completed, he'll go through this other, actually from the
Yeah,
tank.
that makes sense after you said that, yeah. I thought maybe they put the wrong one in and we had to pay to replace it, but no, that makes sense.
And also, let me just share with you something I found out today, and hopefully I'll be able to bring it to you very soon. There is an app, I learned this today in ACOG, there is available funds from a RAISE grant, and Ryan Hayes and with NACOG and Doug Siegel with Oakert wants to apply for that grant. They already have the documents they'll need in place, and we're going to need to chat with that. And at some point, we'll bring that resolution. You'd have to prove that before that happens. So as soon as I know something about that, I'll get that to you. And the item that I've got here is based on our recent general fund budget. You'll notice the FY25 non-governmental appropriations this is some of those that you had on that budget, and those have to be approved separately. So, to my knowledge, and I've got Shana here, none of these changed from the previous year. So, does anybody have any questions?
Well, I don't see one place on there, and I know they normally are.
It's a governmental appropriation.
Okay, gotcha.
None of these have changed from year to year, but have they changed it recently?
They requested more, but we didn't.
Okay.
But I think these were all the same as the previous year. Okay, any questions? Thank you.
Okay, next, board appointments, we have one vacancy for seated, and we do have two applications. One application is Mr. Curtis and Mr. Aubrey Wilson. You guys have already reviewed this last meeting. It was a tie, so you guys want to make a motion, and let's select one.
Make a motion to, or nominate Mr. Wilson.
Second.
Got a motion, nomination for Mr. Wilson for Mr. Oliver, second by Mr. Hendricks. All in favor?
Wait, I do have some discussion.
Okay, let's go.
I did talk to Mr. Curtis, and he's fine to be the next one, much like we do. He would go, he would be in the process as the next opening is available.
Was he also still interested in tourism?
He did not say, I didn't visit with him specifically about that, but I can.
I spoke with him as well, same answer.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, so you've got that, Kathy, Mr. Aubrey Wilson, and then let's see. Library, we have one vacancy, and we have one application, and we have one that wants to be reappointed and one that does not. Do we have those applications? Let's see that. Mr. Craig Cassidy. We just have one application for that one, for the library board. Have y'all ever had an opportunity to look at that one?
I have not.
Nor have I.
Okay, then we will take this one at the next meeting, since nobody's had an opportunity to review it. Okay, that's it for right now. We'll take that's it.
What about the advisory board?
Okay.
Advisory board,
Mhm.
I nominate Mr. Oliver.
Second.
With the advisory board, we have our nomination for Mr. Oliver, second by Mr. Hendricks. All in favor for Mr. Oliver as for the, serve on the advisory board. Opposed? One abstention? That's it. Anything else? If not, we'll take a 5-minute break if y'all need that, and then we'll come right back.